The modern world is suffering from a catastrophic inflation of words, where the supply of noise has approached infinity and the value of silence has approached zero, which creates a specific arbitrage opportunity for the predator class known as the architect. We are living in the age of the mumbling, where the soft men believe that they must broadcast every thought and every feeling and every plan to the digital ether in a desperate attempt to validate their existence. They mistake volume for power and visibility for relevance, but the architect understands that in an economy drowning in noise, the only thing that creates gravity is silence. By the end of this protocol, you will understand that silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is a heavy and active weapon that bends reality around the user. It is the mechanism by which you conserve energy while your competitors bleed it out in a stream of consciousness that no one is listening to. We are going to expose the poverty of the loud, proving that the inability to keep your mouth shut is the primary indicator of a low-status mind. You will see how the system encourages you to share and to comment and to engage, because a man who is talking is a man who is not building, and a man who is broadcasting is a man who is easy to track. The wealth of the future belongs to the silent operators who move through the marketplace like submarines running deep and quiet while the masses splash on the surface begging to be eaten. If you want to make $1 million, you must first learn how to stop paying the tax of unnecessary communication. To understand the economics of silence, you must analyze the correlation between noise and insolvency. Walk through a poor neighborhood and observe the acoustic environment. It is chaotic. It is loud. There is music blaring from cars. There are people shouting across the street. There is the constant hum of television sets and the vibration of unmanaged stress. Now walk through a wealthy neighborhood or enter the office of a high-level executive. It is quiet, the walls are thick, the windows are double-paned, the voices are low and controlled. This is not an accident. Noise is the exhaust of an inefficient engine. When a machine is broken, it rattles, and when a human life is broken, it mumbles. The soft men mumble about their problems. They mumble about their politics. They mumble about their dreams. This constant leakage of verbal energy prevents the accumulation of pressure required to launch a rocket. The architect treats his energy like a pressurized gas. You do not open the valve unless it is to drive a piston. You do not speak unless the words improve upon the silence. This conservation of energy creates a vibrational surplus that you can invest into your business and your body. The poor man is acoustically bankrupt. He spends his energy as soon as he generates it. He tells you he is going to start a business, and in the act of telling you, he dissipates the tension he needed to actually do it. He tells you he is angry, and in the act of shouting, he loses the cold resolve required for revenge. The most dangerous trap of the mumbling world is the dopamine leak of the announcement. The brain is a biological computer that has trouble distinguishing between the visualization of an act and the execution of an act. When you tell your friends, I'm going to make $1 million, or I'm going to lose 20 pounds, your brain releases a hit of dopamine that is similar to the reward you would get if you actually achieved the goal. This is a false positive. You have hacked your own reward system. You feel good. You feel successful. You feel like a provider or a winner. And because you already have the reward, you lose the drive to do the work. The architect operates under the seal of omerta. You never speak of the plan until the plan is executed. You never speak of the money until the money is in the bank. You never speak of the victory until the enemy is buried. This enforced silence creates a dopamine deficit. You are starving your brain of the cheap reward. You are forcing it to seek the expensive reward of the actual result. This is the psychological engine of the millionaire. You are walking around with a secret, and that secret acts as a nuclear reactor in your chest. The pressure builds and builds until it forces you into kinetic action. You work harder because you cannot talk. You build faster because you cannot brag. The silence becomes the womb of the empire. Silence is also the ultimate leverage in negotiation and social hierarchy. The soft men are terrified of the pause. In a conversation or a negotiation, when the air goes dead, the soft man feels a spike of anxiety. He feels the need to fill the void. He starts to babble. He offers a concession. He reveals his hand. He lowers his price. He does this because he seeks the comfort of social resonance. He wants to be liked. The architect weaponizes the void. You get comfortable with the dead air. You ask a question and then you shut up. You stare at the counterparty and you wait. You let the silence stretch until it becomes physically painful for them. In that pain, they will give you everything. They will tell you their true bottom line. They will tell you their insecurities. They will bid against themselves. The man who speaks first loses. The man who can hold his tongue holds the power. This is the architecture of the void. By creating a vacuum, you force the world to flow into you. You become a black hole of authority. People project their own fears and their own desires onto your silence. They assume you are smarter than you are. They assume you are more dangerous than you are. You do not need to convince them of your status. Your silence convinces them for you. The loudest man in the room is the one trying to prove he belongs. The quietest man in the room is the one who owns it. We must also address the signal-to-noise ratio in the marketplace of ideas. The internet has democratized the microphone, which means that every village idiot now has a global platform. The result is a tsunami of mediocrity. Everyone is a content creator. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone has a hot take. This creates a market condition where signal is the scarcest commodity on earth. The soft men try to compete by shouting louder. They use clickbait. They use controversy. They use volume. They are commodities fighting a price war. The architect competes by increasing the density of the signal. You speak less, but when you speak, it is granite. You do not chase the news cycle. You do not comment on the current thing. You wait, you synthesize, and then you drop a truth that is so heavy and so refined that it cracks the pavement. Because you are rare, people listen. Scarcity drives value. If you tweet 50 times a day, your tweets are worthless dust. If you write one essay a month and it is pure fire, your words are diamonds. The millionaire mindset is about asymmetric output. You want the maximum return for the minimum input. Talking is high input, low return. Silence is low input, infinite return. You are building a brand of mystery. In a world where everyone is overexposed, the man who remains hidden is the man who remains interesting. You are the ghost in the machine. You are the glitch that cannot be categorized because you do not provide enough data for the algorithm to box you in. The architecture of silence extends to the operational security of your life. The adage, real G's move in silence like lasagna, is a funny line, but a profound tactical truth. The moment you broadcast your success, you paint a target on your back. The taxman starts looking. The litigious parasites start looking. The jealous friends start looking. The soft men want the fame of the millionaire. The architect wants the freedom of the millionaire. Fame is a liability. It is a tax on your privacy and your movement. The stealth wealth protocol demands that you look like a normal person while holding the keys to the kingdom. You drive a reliable car, not a flashy one. You wear unbranded clothes, not logos. You live in a secure house, not a visible one. You hide your assets in the dynastic trust we discussed in previous protocols. You utilize the gray man theory. You blend in. The mumbling masses are desperate to stand out, to be seen, to be validated. You are desperate to be invisible so you can operate without friction. The less the world knows about your resources, the more effectively you can deploy them. You are playing a game of information asymmetry. You know everything about them because they never shut up. They know nothing about you because you never speak. In a poker game, if you can see their cards and they cannot see yours, you will take all their chips. Life is that poker game. Finally, there is the spiritual dimension of silence, which is the connection to the hard reality. The mumbling is a shield that the soft men use to protect themselves from the truth of their condition. They talk to drown out the voice of their conscience. They talk to distract themselves from the ticking of the clock. They talk to avoid the kinetic imperative. When you stop talking, you are forced to confront yourself. You are forced to look at the bank account and the body and the relationships without the filter of your own excuses. Silence is the mirror of the soul. It is painful. It is brutal. But it is the only place where growth happens. The architect seeks out the silence of the early morning and the silence of the deep woods and the silence of the heavy lift. In that silence, you hear the primal signal. You hear what you actually want, not what society tells you to want. You hear the strategy forming in the back of your mind. You connect to the source code of the universe, which is written in mathematics and physics, not in English or Russian. The $1 million you seek is not found in the chatter of the networking event. It is found in the deep focus of the silent room, where you solve the hard problem that the loud people are too distracted to see. The money is in the quiet. The path to the first million is not paved with words. It is paved with executed actions. Every word you speak that does not advance. The mission is a leak in the fuel tank. You must become a vessel of containment. You must learn to sit at the dinner table and listen to the fool's babble and feel the power of your own restraint. You must learn to launch the product without the hype and let the quality do the shouting. You must learn to walk away from the argument because the lion does not debate the sheep. The architecture of your life must be built like a library, hallowed, focused, and immense. The noise is for the tourists. The silence is for the masters. The open plan office is not a workspace. It is a crime scene where the potential of the human mind is systematically murdered by the weapon of distraction. To understand how to make $1 million, you must first understand why the modern corporate environment is designed to keep you poor. The soft men believe that collaboration is the key to success and that the constant hum of chatter and the ping of instant instant messages represents a vibrant culture. The architect knows that this is a lie. The open office is an attention abattoir designed for surveillance and real estate cost-cutting, not for productivity. In this environment, it is biologically impossible to do the kind of work that generates asymmetric wealth. Wealth is not created by replying to emails. Wealth is not created by sitting in a 2-hour meeting to discuss the color of a logo. Wealth is created by solving difficult problems that no one else can solve. These problems require a state of cognitive load that can only be sustained in absolute silence. When you are interrupted, your brain is forced to dump its short-term working memory and start the loading process all over again. It is like trying to build a house of cards in a wind tunnel. You are busy, you are stressed, you are exhausted, but you are building nothing. The path to the million starts with the rejection of the collaborative myth and the construction of the productivity bunker. The economics of deep work are governed by a simple equation. High-quality work produced equals time spent multiplied by intensity of focus. The soft man tries to increase his output by increasing the time spent. He works late, he works weekends, he grinds. But because his intensity of focus is low, diluted by the acoustic rot of his environment and the digital interruptions, his output remains mediocre. He is trading time for money, which is the strategy of the serf. The architect hacks the equation by maximizing the intensity of focus. By sealing yourself in a silence so deep it feels heavy, you can achieve a level of cognitive intensity that is 10 times higher than the distracted masses. In this state, you can accomplish in 4 hours what the mumbling crowd accomplishes in 40. This is the leverage of silence. When you operate at this intensity, you are no longer trading time for money. You are trading insight for money. You are trading completed assets for money. The market pays for the result, not the effort. If you can write the code that fixes the platform or design the strategy that captures the market in one morning of deep silence, you have generated $1 million of value. The fact that it only took you 4 hours is irrelevant. The silence is the multiplier that turns your time into gold. To execute this strategy, you must become a cognitive athlete. Just as a sprinter needs a track and a weightlifter needs a gym, the cognitive athlete needs a specific arena. This is the bunker. The bunker is a physical space that is dedicated solely to the act of deep creation. It is a hard zone. It has a door that locks. It has walls that block sound. It has zero tolerance for the digital intrusion. In the bunker, there is no Wi-Fi unless it is strictly necessary for the task. There is no phone. There are no people. When you enter the bunker, you are entering a sacred contract with yourself. You are there to go to war with the resistance. The soft men view their office as a social club. They go there to drink coffee and gossip and complain about the boss. The architect views the office as a cockpit. You strap in. You engage the systems. You fly the mission. You land. You leave. This ruthless compartmentalization allows you to be hyper-efficient. You do not linger in the gray zone of semi-work. You're either fully on or fully off. This binary existence preserves your sanity and your energy. The $1 million idea will not come to you while you are half listening to a podcast and half writing a report. It will come to you when you have stripped away the noise and forced your brain to confront the raw complexity of the challenge. We must also address the commoditization of shallow work. In the age of artificial intelligence, any task that can be performed while distracted will be automated. If you can do your job while listening to music and checking Slack every 10 minutes an hour, I can do your job better, faster, and cheaper. The mumbling work, the coordination, the scheduling, the basic text generation is the domain of the algorithm. The only territory that remains safe for the human is the territory of deep novel. This is the work of inventing something new, of bridging two previously unconnected ideas, of navigating a high-stakes human negotiation. This work requires the full bandwidth of the human consciousness. It requires the zero-day creativity we discussed in the previous cycle. By embracing silence, you are positioning yourself in the high-value fortress. You are doing the work that the robot cannot do because the robot cannot sit in the existential void and pull a new reality out of the ether. The robot needs a prompt. You are the one who writes the prompt. The difference between the prompt writer and the prompt follower is the difference between the master and the slave. The master lives in silence to think. The slave lives in noise to obey. The transition to strategic solitude requires you to pay a social tax. The world does not like it when you go silent. Your colleagues will think you are aloof. Your friends will think you are ignoring them. The system is designed to police your availability. It wants you to be always on. It wants the green dot next to your name. The architect accepts this tax as the cost of doing business. You must be willing to be misunderstood. You must be willing to be the ghost. You decline the meeting that has no agenda. You ignore the email that is not an emergency. You set the autoresponder that tells the world, I am deep in the work, do not disturb me. This is an act of aggression against the status quo. You are drawing a boundary around your mind and defending defending it with lethal force. The soft men are terrified of saying no because they fear they will lose opportunity. The architect knows that no is the most powerful financial instrument in the world. Every time you say no to a low-value noise, you are saying yes to a high-value signal. You are hoarding your attention so that you can invest it in the big bet. You cannot bet big if you are nickel and dimming your focus away on trivialities. There is a specific monetization of the void that occurs when you embrace this lifestyle. When you are silent, you hear the things that the market is screaming but no one is listening to. The market is always broadcasting its needs, its pain points, its inefficiencies. But because everyone is talking, everyone is pitching, everyone is selling, no one is hearing the customer. The architect listens. In your silence, you detect the signal of opportunity. You notice that everyone is complaining about X. You notice that the existing solution for Y is broken. You notice the gap between what people say they want and what they actually buy. This observation is the seed of the million-dollar business. While the competitors are busy copying each other and shouting over each other, you are quietly building the solution that solves the actual problem. You launch with precision. You do not need a massive marketing budget because your product resonates with the acoustic truth of the market. You hit the target because you took the time to aim while everyone else was spraying and praying. The sniper is always more cost-effective than the infantry. One shot, one kill. One product, 1 million. Furthermore, the practice of silence builds executive presence. In the boardroom, in the pitch meeting, in the negotiation, the person who is comfortable with silence is the person who is perceived as the leader. The mumbling man is perceived as nervous. He is leaking status. When you sit in the meeting and you do not speak until you have something absolute to say, you create a gravitational well. People lean in. They want to know what the silent man is thinking. This increases the perceived value of your words. It is the law of supply and demand applied to communication. By restricting the supply of your voice, you increase its price. When you finally speak, you drop the hammer. You frame the debate. You make the decision. And because you haven't wasted your capital on the trivial points, your capital is intact for the decisive blow. This is how you negotiate a $1 million contract. You let them talk themselves into a corner, and then you quietly close the gate. You use their noise against them. You let them exhaust themselves, spinning their wheels, while you wait for the traction. Finally, the productivity bunker is not just a place, it is a temporal state. You must learn to synchronize your silence with your biology. The golden hours of the morning are sacred. The soft man wakes up and immediately blasts his brain with the noise of the news and the social media. He starts his day in a deficit. The architect wakes up into the silence. You protect the first 4 hours of the day like a jealous lover. No phone, no news, no conversation. This is the time when your brain is most plastic, most capable of the heavy lift. You pour this energy directly into the one thing that makes the money. If you win the morning, you win the day. If you lose the morning to the noise, you spend the rest of the day playing catch-up. The $1 million year is nothing more than a series of one mornings stacked on top of each other. It is the accumulation of deep work units. If you can stack 1,000 hours of deep silent work in a year, you will be in the top 1% of your field. It is a mathematical certainty. The world is too distracted to compete with you. They are playing a different game. They are playing office. You are playing empire. The noise is the currency of the poor because the poor pay attention to it. The silence is the currency of the rich because the rich command it. You must decide which currency you want to hold. You can have the likes, the comments, the retweets, and the chatter. Or you can have the silence, the focus, the product, and the check. You cannot have both. The choice is binary. Step into the bunker. Lock the door. And do not come out until you have built something that speaks louder than you ever could. The ultimate evolution of the architect is the transformation of the self into a black box. In engineering, a black box is a system which can be viewed in terms of its inputs and outputs without any knowledge of its internal workings. The soft men are transparent glass boxes. They are desperate to show you their effort. They want to show you how hard they are working, how many hours they are logging, and how much stress they are enduring. They believe that if the client sees the sweat, the client will value the result. The architect understands that this is a low-status behavior. When you explain your process, you commoditize your magic. You turn yourself into an hourly laborer who can be audited and negotiated down. The black box protocol is the strategic decision to make your process opaque and your results undeniable. You become a machine where the market feeds in chaos and cash, and you spit out order and profit. What happens inside the box, the silence, the deep work, the agonizing friction of creation, is none of their business. By hiding the mechanics of your production, you shift the focus entirely entirely to the value of the output. You are no longer paid for your time. You are paid for the miracle. The magician never explains the trick, because the moment the trick is explained, the wonder evokes a shrug and the price of the ticket collapses. You are the magician of the marketplace. You maintain the mystery to maintain the margin. To execute the black box strategy, you must implement the oracle model of communication. The oracle does not brainstorm. The oracle does not hop on a quick call to touch base. The oracle speaks only when the answer is ready. The soft men are addicted to the collaborative loop. They want to hold your hand through the process. They want endless updates and drafts and feedback sessions. This acoustic rot destroys the integrity of the work. The architect sets the terms of engagement up front. I will take your problem. I will disappear for 2 weeks. I will return with the solution. Do not contact me in the interim. This requires a level of competence that borders on the supernatural. If you demand silence, you must deliver gold. But if you can deliver gold, the market will accept your silence. In fact, they will come to revere it. They will view your silence not as negligence, but as the gestation period of something profound. This creates a ritual of anticipation. The client waits for your email like a devotee waits for a prophecy. When the notification finally arrives, it carries the weight of a divine revelation. You have turned a business transaction into a theatrical event. You have used silence to build a stage, and when you finally walk onto it, the audience is already holding its breath. The psychology of inaccessibility is the marketing engine of the black box. We live in a world where everyone is instantly available. You can tweet at a celebrity and they might reply. You can email a CEO and he might forward it. This ubiquity has destroyed the value of presence. The architect artificially restricts the supply of his access to create a velvet rope economy. You must become the hardest person to reach in your industry. You do not answer the phone. You do not have a public calendar. You do not have open to work on your LinkedIn profile. You have a gatekeeper. It might be an assistant. It might be an automated form, or it might just be a rigorous set of filters that screens out the noise. When you are hard to reach, the market assumes you are busy with high-value activities. They assume you are in demand. They assume you are important. This is the unreachability premium. People want what they cannot have. If you pick up the phone on the first ring, you are signaling that you have nothing better to do. You are signaling that you are desperate for the business. The architect signals, through his unavailability, that he does not need the deal. And because he does not need the deal chases him. You are reversing the polarity of the sales dynamic. You are not selling. You are allowing them to buy. The velvet rope is not just a barrier. It is a filter that keeps out the low-status clients who will drain your energy with their mumbling. Only the serious players, the ones who understand the value of the black box, will pay the price of admission. This protocol also serves as the ultimate operational security for your intellectual property. The soft men love to pick your brain. They want to take you out for coffee and extract your wisdom for the price of a latte. They want to know how you do it. The architect treats his methodology like a state secret. You do not teach them how to fish. You sell them the fish at a premium price. If you teach them how to fish, you create a competitor. If you sell them the fish, you keep a customer. Inside the black box, you have developed proprietary systems, mental models, and deep work rituals that allow you to outperform the market. These are your trade secrets. Revealing them in the name of transparency or ego is a tactical error. You keep your edge sharp by keeping it sheathed. When people ask how you achieved the result, you give them the surface answer. You tell them you worked hard. You tell them you got lucky. You give them the platitudes that satisfy their curiosity without handing them the keys to the castle. You let them think it is magic, when in reality it is just ruthless, silent discipline. The mystery protects the mechanism. If they don't know how the machine works, they cannot replicate it, and they cannot fix it if they try to build their own. They remain dependent on the black box. The ultimate goal of the black box is the exit from the noise. The money you generate from this high-margin, low-volume operation is not for buying Ferraris to impress the mumbling masses. It is for buying distance. You use the capital to build a physical buffer between you and the chaos of the world. You buy land where you cannot hear your neighbors. You buy a car with soundproofing so good the world disappears when you close the door. You buy freedom from the obligation economy. You no longer have to attend the weddings of people you don't like. You no longer have to laugh at the jokes of the boss you despise. You no longer have to participate in the social mumbling. You have purchased your sovereignty. The ultimate luxury in the 21st century is not a watch or a suit. It is the ability to sit in a room for a week and speak to no one if you choose not to. It is the ability to turn off the phone and know that the empire will keep running because the black box is processing the inputs without your constant supervision. You are building a system that allows you to be the ghost. You are there, but you are not there. You are the invisible hand that moves the pieces, but you are never seen touching the board. Scaling the silence requires the automation of the mundane. The black box is not just you. It is a system of silent delegates. You use technology to handle the noise. You use AI to process the low-level data. You use asynchronous communication tools to eliminate meetings. You create a documentation of silence, a set of manuals and protocols that answer the questions before they are asked. When a client or an employee has a question, they consult the code, not the architect. You are removing yourself from the critical path of information flow. The soft men make themselves the bottleneck because it makes them feel important. They want to be the one who answers every question. The architect designs himself out of the loop. You want the system to run in silence. A silent machine is a well-oiled machine. A noisy machine is a machine that is grinding its gears. You listen for the hum of efficiency, not the clatter of busyness. By automating the noise, you preserve your biological RAM for the decisions that actually matter, the strategic pivots, the investment theses, the creative breakthroughs. You are optimizing for decision density, not action density. One right decision made in silence is worth 1,000 frantic actions made in noise. Finally, the black box protocol is a spiritual stance against the entropy of the age. The world is dissolving into a soup of grey noise. Truth is being drowned out by volume. Quality is being drowned out by quantity. By becoming a black box, you become a hard object in a soft world. You become a monolith. You stand for something absolute, the integrity of the result. You refuse to participate in the degradation of standards. You refuse to mumble your work. You demand that the work stand on its own, naked and undeniable. If the work is good, it needs no explanation. If the work is bad, no explanation will save it. This binary reality is the air the architect breathes. It is clean, it is cold, it is honest. The soft men suffocate in the smog of their own excuses. You breathe the clear air of the summit. You have climbed above the cloud layer of the noise. You look down at the frantic, buzzing world, and you feel nothing but a distant pity. You have built your fortress. You have silenced the dogs. You have won the game by refusing to play by their rules. You are the silence that speaks. The architecture is complete. You have the blueprint for the acoustic economy. You have the strategy for the productive bunker. You have the protocol for the black box. The path to the million is clear, but it is quiet. There is no cheering section. There is no applause. There is only the sound of your own breath and the scratching of your pen on the paper and the clicking of the lock as you secure the vault. The noise is for the poor. The silence is for the kings. Stop talking. Start building. The box is open for business.